Ready, Big Nate?
Yeah.
I did my presentation on business ethics. So throughout the presentation, we'll get an understanding of what ethics is. Then we'll talk about business ethics, then the ethical responsibility and the principles with those. Then how it benefits us, the importance of a leader, and then what happens when ethics are avoided, and then the biblical integration. So to understand business ethics, it must be understood what ethics is. Ethics is relating to moral principles. Ethics is relating to moral principles, or the branch of knowledge with these. Some examples of unethical things would be like murder, lying, and cheating. Like we know those things are wrong, and like avoiding doing those things would be being ethical in a way. Ethics are morals within communities, and they are present everywhere. So, I mean, there's ethics in this classroom, in your job, like in your sport, in your relationships, in your friendships. So then we go to business ethics, which is a very broad category with many ways to go about it. The definition of business ethics is a set of moral standards or practices that guide business organizations. So the law actually helps us, like it sets the tone for business ethics. And a quote I have by a writer named Alexandra Twin, she states, "The law usually sets the tone for business ethics, but doing the bare minimum is generally frowned upon, and that's why understanding of business ethics is important." And then, so the law establishes business ethics by like legal frameworks such as anti-discrimination laws, labor laws, corporate governance, and consumer protection laws. But like I said, that leaves a lot of loopholes and to go unethical to be unethical with. So that's why I said a deep understanding is necessary. And then ethical businesses have a positive effect on the world. So with business ethics or with ethics in general, there are responsibilities you have, ethical responsibilities. Ethical, respons- ethical responsibilities you have in business is to society, customers, and employees. Societal responsibility is based upon I call it the three P's, or it's called the three P's, which is profit, people, and the planet. And all these are based upon something called the triple bottom line, which, stated by writer Kelsey Miller, is the idea that firms should commit to measuring societal and environmental impact rather than focusing solely on profit. So not only like just focusing on how your profit affects you, but like how it affects your society, or how it affects your society and your planet as well, how your business does. And it also helps question like whether if you're treating the people associated with your business correctly. And the question asked about like with society and the responsibility you have is how will your business affect the society positively? And then with customers, it's basically just not misleading your customers. And a quote by writer Michael Boyles: "The responsibility to customers is to ensure you don't mislead your customers." Misleading can be by lying or false advertising. You can kind of compare misleading in business to like if you're scrolling on YouTube, you like clickbait, you see something, it looks appealing, you click on it, the video is nothing like that. That'd be like buying something that you thought that the business might produce, then you get it and it's nothing like what you bought. Misleading can negatively impact the integrity of a business, which can lead to its decline. Employee employees is a employees is with fairness, has to do with fairness. This is the most simple one because it's just treating like people fairly, giving them fair wages, fair treatment, and like no unjustified firings, which happens a lot, unfortunately. But with these responsibilities, it leads to a great start into being ethical. But with being ethical, you also have principles which are put in place by the community and are morally correct. There are five different principles that have to do with business. The first one being integrity is the act of being honest. Integrity in business is important because it helps build a solid reputation for your business. So whether or not you're actively your business is actively in the community. If you have if you have had integrity in the past, it like you have a solid reputation, so people know like, okay, yeah, this business is solid. This business is solid within the community. And then businesses go about being integrity through their leader. Second one is accountability. That is taking responsibility and owning your decisions. In a quote by writer Esther Hahn, it is stated how accountability helps shape your organization's culture, promote trust, ensure responsible behavior, and contribute to its success. So, in this world, we all have a role, and we are obligated to do that role. Like we have, whether it's role in your job, role here in school, in your sport, you need to hold yourself accountable to do that because I mean it creates a positive work environment, and then also like a way for your business to have accountability is like to lead by example. So if someone sees you being holding yourself accountable to do what you are supposed to do, then they'll chances are they will too. And then doing what we are obligated to do is ethical. Next point is about respect, which quoted from the Boise State College of Business: respect in the workplace is about placing value on your employees, customers, and all stakeholders. Respect is ethical because we were all created equal, and respect needs to be present everywhere with everyone. Respect your employees, your uh, partners, whatever. Going hand in hand with respect is fairness. Fairness equals making decisions that are both just and equitable. And a quote from David DeBoli, he says, employees who experience fairness at work are more likely to internalize the company's goals and develop close bonds with organizational members. I mean, that's huge because if you're getting treated fairly, you will want to help out the business more rather than if you're getting treated unfairly, you'd be like, oh, I don't even want to. Why would I help you out? You don't even treat me right. So I mean, that'll only affect your business positively if you treat everyone there with respect. And then the last one would be transparency, which is basically just communication. Open communication creates trust and loyalty, which can lead to very successful partnerships. Being transparent helps be healthy and avoid toxic partnerships or relationships. So, like said previously, with all these principles, they are all based upon what the leader does. It is our human nature to follow somebody. We all like whether you follow your mentor, your coach, your friends, your teacher, we all follow somebody. So in business ethics, the most important person is the person at the top of the board, the CEO or whatever that may be. They have the utmost control on whether what they over the business, meaning they have the utmost control on whether or not the business is. So, with all these things being known on how to run an ethical business, the question comes: what may be the benefits? So, the main benefit of ethics is you produce success in a moral way. The greatest good will be done. The greatest good for yourself, your employees, and your society. Here are some examples of some popular um, ethical businesses. Main one being Patagonia. They are ethical in their environmental sustainability. They are very involved in the environment. The key thing they do is recycle their materials. They also practice fair labor, which they do under the Fair Trade certification, ensuring workers are paid fairly and they work under safe environments. And then if you like ice cream, another key example of ethical business is Ben and Jerry's, which they are ethical in the community as they are a big advocate for racial justice. And then what happens when ethics are avoided? That would be corruption. Writer James Chen stated, corruption is dishonest behavior by those in positions of power. Examples of corruption could be accepting bribes, double dealing, which is basically like offering the same deal to two people and seeing like who gives you more money, defrauding investors, and being dishonest. If an owner or corruption is the unethical way to run a business, and if an owner is being corrupt, they are probably focusing on something like wealth instead of how their business affects the society positively. Being corrupt goes against all the principles, all the previously stated principles of business ethics. And then success does not equal wealth. I feel like that's key because a lot of people look at a business, they're like, oh, it's wealthy, oh, it's successful. Maybe, but I mean, that's not necessarily true because how are they going about? How did they obtain their wealth? And then successful businesses have a positive effect on the community, and corrupt businesses do not. And then one thing I want to make clear is that like to be ethical is not only to not be corrupt. Like you can not be corrupt, you cannot accept bribes or do anything like that, but you can still be not be ethical. Being ethical is like doing the right thing, going out of your way to do the right thing in your business. Some examples of some unethical businesses: we have Sheen and we have Timu. Um, I feel like everyone knows like the children that they have work for them. Like the child labor is very bad, so that's the main way those businesses are not ethical. And then, so what does the Bible say? In Matthew 22:39, it is talking about the two greatest commandments, and this one is about the second: love your neighbor as yourself. Business is all about relations. So if you are you want to be treated ethically, you will not want to be like done wrong, anything like that. So you should treat your neighbor like that, and that'll help you be ethical. The next is Proverbs 22:1, which is a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver or gold. This is in God's eyes, wealth is nothing. A good name or a good reputation is better. Like that's why that goes with my main point is how like wealth does not equal success. Like success will be a good name within your community. Proverbs 11:1 states, "The Lord hates cheating, but He delights in honesty." This is just being integrity. This is just having integrity and being honest with everything you do because like obviously God frowns upon like dishonesty and everything and lying and doing all that. And then this last verse is 1 Corinthians 10:31, which is, so whether you are eating or drinking or whatever you are doing, do it all for the glory of God. And when I think of this one, my main point to make with this one is like whether you have the most successful business or the most wealth or whatever, it's not like everything you obtain is for God, should be for God. It's God's because God put you in that position. So, I mean, you got to have that mentality. And then integrating God within business is the best thing to do. It helps your business. It puts you on the perfect path to be ethical. Thank you.
Really, so I really like the distinctions that you made. Like, there were several things, like you emphasized, success doesn't necessarily mean wealth, right? So a person can have a lot of wealth, but like you said, like how they went about it seems really important. But then I also like that, which leads me to like you mentioned some of those companies, the ones that Temu or whatever, and it's like some of the stuff that they're doing and just kind of getting away with it, right? Because the places where they're operating, it's legal to have kids working in it. It's not against the law, right? So talk to me a little bit, like you mentioned something about the law, because obviously a lot of unethical practices are illegal. Like especially in the United States, you can't just go do whatever you want to. Businesses hopefully can't just do whatever they want to do. You have laws in place, right? But does legal necessarily, like in the same way you said, success doesn't equal wealth, does legal always mean ethical? Like you can imagine some of these companies are saying, if we would say, hey, you're being unethical. Yeah, but we're following the law. Like, what would you say about that?
Yeah. I would say, like the quote said, trying to find it. The law like sets the tone, but that's doing the bare minimum, and that's if you really want to be ethical, that's not the right. Like, sure, you might be doing the right thing with the law, might not necessarily being. What I'll say to your question is like you might not necessarily be being unethical, but how ethical are you actually being? That's a question you got to ask yourself, really, and how you want to go about things. Like, I mean, you can do the bare minimum. I mean, I could really compare that to anything. Like, you can do the bare minimum of anything, but is that really like the person you want to be?
Is that going to bring success? Yeah.
Exactly.
And then also you said at some point, being ethical is use the word proactive. It's not. You said something to the effect of just not doing wrong doesn't necessarily mean you're proactive. You know, that's a really low bar to set. I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah, but are you proactively having ethical business practices? All right, question for you, and this is kind of a tough one, but just your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something about firing people, right? A lot of businesses will just lay off folks and they don't handle it ethically, right? But reality is, if you're running a business, you're probably going to have some folks you're going to need to let go at some point, right? To keep them on is a problem because it's just not good business. How would you? What the question that I wrote down was, what do employees that are being fired? What do they deserve from the company in order to be treated ethically? They're getting fired, but what should the company do for them? What should their boss do for them in terms of you have to fire them for crying out loud? But how do you go about doing it ethically?
Yeah, well, I know. So a family friend of mine got laid off. I forgot what the exact reason. Something to do with the economy, but they're still giving them like money. So I guess that could be a way, but I guess it just depends on whether or not the firing was actually like justifiable. I mean, he could have helped that. He wasn't a bad employee or anything. It just happened to be they had to for the way the economy's going, I guess. But I mean, I really don't think if the firing is justifiable, I really don't think the business got to do anything. I mean, if the person is bringing down the ethics of your like business, then I mean, tell them, let them go, and then I mean, they just got to learn. I really don't think. I guess in ways that was unjustifiable, or in ways you can't help it. Maybe yeah, like giving them some compensation or something like that, or helping them find a better job, recommending them. But yeah, that's what I'll say.
Well, and it just seems like a lot of it ends up becoming like case by case. Because you're right, it's like what did the person do in order to be fired? Classmates, are there any questions or comments for him?
In sales, like I don't know if you do this, but like on making deals, how can you justify what making a good offer is? That way you don't basically make an unfair price for the person that you're making the deal with, but then also that way you can get the best.
Mm, I would say if I'm answering your question correctly, I would say, I mean, you gotta obviously think about the numbers, like how much cost you to make it. Obviously, you want to make a profit on whatever you're selling. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question.
But I guess what I'm just trying to say, like, do you kind of like whether that's like ethical or unethical,
To do what
um,
specifically?
just to like try and get a better deal on someone.
Hmm. Hold on. I got to answer. I got to think.
I'm not trying to.
No, no, it's good. It's a good question. I feel like it's ethical to find the best. Oh, actually, I don't feel like it's neither. To find the best deal for yourself, I don't feel like that's being ethical nor being unethical. But if you are like, okay, I'll make a good point. I don't think an airport selling or like an amusement park or something selling a water bottle for $10 is ethical. Like, there's no need to do that. So I mean, I feel like that would be unethical. But I mean, if you're just trying to find the best deal for yourself, I don't feel like that's either. You're just trying to do what's best, what you need to do for your business.
Well, like to that point, as you were talking, I'm thinking there's a big difference between running a business, and this is like, and by the way, like this is why these projects are valuable. Any of y'all that are going to be in any type of business at all in the future, which is like everybody. Like technically, I'm involved in a business for crying. Like anytime somebody's trying to make a livelihood, you're gonna be involved in business, right? And there's a way of going about doing it where if your end goal is the bottom line is profit, like whatever your P's were, right? Like if profit is the only thing that you're targeting, there are really easy ways to get a lot of money. They're just not really good ways of getting money, right? Easiest way I can think of to get money, walk up and take it from somebody. But that's stealing, right? It's like, if all, so the point is, it's not just that we have a problem with theft or with bad practices. Now, watch this. If your mentality or if your goal in business changes to where you're not just trying to get a profit, you're actually trying to help somebody. Which by the way, all year I've been trying to argue that whatever business you go into, you ought to be trying to help somebody. If you don't see your work as a calling, if you don't see your work as something to go help somebody, and I don't care what business you're trying to run, whatever business it is, if you can't identify who it is you're trying to help and how you're helping them, I'm not sure that's an ethical business. Because then what's it for? Well, to make money. But here's the great thing about it. Jesus said that if you seek first the kingdom of God, all of these things, like talking about clothes and money and food, all of these things will be added to you. In other words, if you're worrying about clothes, food, and money and all that stuff, you may or may not get it. But if you seek God's kingdom, then these things will be added to you. In other words, here's what I think is going on. If you try to be ethical in your business, there's a good chance you're probably going to profit, because if you look at all these really ethical businesses, people tend to get behind them. People tend to want to support that kind of stuff, right? Versus something like Temu and everybody starts laughing, right? Nobody started laughing when you put up Patagonia. Probably because I can't afford half of it. But I'm just saying, like, Patagonia, like, nobody laughs at it because they're a legit business that is making a profit, but also has a reputation for being very ethical. You put Temu up, I'm sure they're making lots of money. But I don't know. If I'm the CEO of Temu, I don't want people laughing every time my logo pops up. Am I making sense? Like, if you aim for one, you won't get the other. But if you aim for ethics, if you aim to just have a good company, chances are it'll probably work out well for you. Oh, yeah, your hand up.
So, for like your ethics, would you say there's a different set of standards for like businesses who are like corporations and also like smaller like family-owned businesses, like how they treat people and like how many people they're actually overseeing? Like, for example, like a small mom and pop like little restaurant is going to be a lot different with their ethics than like Apple.
Yeah.
Online.
I would say no, only because like the CEO of, I'm trying to think of something. Let's say like Chick-fil-A, like they put in place ethics how they want how they want to be known, but he can't control every single little store, so that comes down to like not him, but like the managers or the owners of that certain store. So I feel like no, because that goes right with like other small businesses. It's just like there's more, like the CEO of a small business will have more impact. Well, not more impact, but more. I'm trying to think of the word. I guess impact on the community than the CEO of a big business, because that comes down to the owners of the other stores.
That why, like, it's so big though. Like, I really think he cares that for whether or not it's like good or bad intention, he's still making that money regardless.
Good point. What do you think?
I don't think he does. Or she, whoever. I don't know. Whatever's controlling Temu, I don't think they really.
So this was another question I was thinking about asking. Weigh in on this if you want. It's also funny that some of the biggest companies in the world, some of the biggest corporations, biggest corporations in the world, are also some of the most unethical companies in the world, right? Biggest company in the world right now is Amazon. And they are notorious for treating their employees something to that, right? And I'm just saying, like, that goes back to the point where what's your goal in business? To have as much money as possible, because there are ways to do it. It's just not going to be very ethical. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they care. I don't think whoever that is or whoever, and it's probably some board of a bunch of students that nobody knows. Versus he brought up Chick-fil-A, who the CEO of Chick-fil-A is like a grandpa to everybody. Everybody knows who that is. So yeah, there's a big difference. Thanks, Cam. Let's get Cam one more.